Do is we will officially call the September 23rd EEAC meeting to order, and we'll recognize that with us we have members of staff. So from engineering, Mark Valentine, Sarah Kloster, recreation, Sabrina Renner, our communications director, Phyllis Ely, and then community members Matt Piston, Sinette Cavalier, and Bob Knauer, husband of our great historian Kathy Knauer. So with that, welcome to all. So probably our most important item tonight is the RFP that we all had the opportunity to take a look at back in August, that Sarah had done so much work on pulling together. Not only some things that she learned from the NYSERDA website, Brookhaven model was another aspect of that. And so I think we've all received what I'll call at least the second draft at this point, where she took some of our comments and some of our edits and what have you. So we have that before us. Hopefully everyone had a chance to take a quick review of that. Sarah does have that, so we can put it up on the screen if anyone would like that. We could do that as well. And then what I might suggest is that we can just go down page by page, section by section, and if there is any thoughts, changes, discussion, recommendations, we can do that. The goal, Mark did come into the town board with the first draft at our work session under information items. He did share at a high level. The board seemed to be, I think, at least in somewhat unison to go with the flow that we recommended by way of a timeline. We asked for input and feedback from them, and so any and all of that has been received. So with that, maybe we just start right in, and Sarah's got the magic fingers and the magic computer, and she can update right on the fly pretty much as we go through. So the first page, and I'll just jump in on the first page. The contact information, I would like to have the town clerk that replaced with Sarah, your name, or a combination of your name, Mark's name. I'll let the two of you decide what makes the most sense, and that it'll come from the planning and engineering. So contact information will be planning and engineering, and then the names that we use can be one, both, or the other overall for that.
We're going to leave the submittals to the clerk's office, but just us as the contact for questions,
correct,
comments?
Correct. I thought it'd be safer for any technical questions to come to you rather than to the town clerk to try to interpret them.
That's fine. Just make sure we've got it right, as where oftentimes it comes through their office, they document it, pass them on to us anyways, and then we respond.
We'll do the proper documentation. We'll keep that record. The only thing I'm going to be expecting from the clerk's office is they'll receive the proposals on November 20th, and I'd like to change that from noon to 11 o'clock, pretty much consistent with what we do for other what I'll call bid openings or RFP submissions.
Now, Sarah and I were chatting earlier today about the timeframes and just making sure. Obviously, if the board's ready to go ahead tonight, we've got it on the town board agenda tonight as an action item.
Right.
So after this meeting, I'll follow up with the board and see where we are. If we're ready to move ahead, we'll do the resolution for the 7th and then have it ready for the 8th. One of the things that Sarah brought to my attention and brought up was just timing with this committee. Our next meeting, I believe, if we're correct, or the next meeting after that is December 16th.
Correct.
So just didn't know if either we want to tighten those up, if we want this group to go through some of those reviews, or just make sure how fast we want that back in, either whether we move the proposal date a little bit later, or maybe we move this meeting up. It's almost
So if
3
you-
to 4 weeks between when we receive the proposals and when this group meets, so.
So you take a look at item number 7 on our agenda, when we talk about the next meeting. We show the next meeting as the 16th, and then the note that says we may need to meet earlier to review proposals.
Guess I should have read my
so-
agenda, and I would have had the answer I was looking for. So.
Not a problem. So,
You're
Great
well
minds.
ahead of us. So.
great minds. So,
Now,
I
Sarah and
guess
I were
the
just talking
bigger-
earlier just to say, just we had a little bit more timeliness on that.
I guess the bigger question on the table, and I think it probably is more directed to you and Sarah, and that is that from the time of issuance for the questions being due in on the 22nd, and then we would look to take any and all those questions, provide the answers, and then push it out so everybody got and saw the same questions, got the same answers, so that we're not playing this game of, well, if I call Mark or Sarah, maybe I can get an inside track on, or a scoop, so to speak. But I think the importance is that do we feel comfortable internally that if the information comes in, that we're able to turn that around and issue that addendum by early November, do we need to extend that a little bit for taking into account that you're not sitting upstairs just waiting for this information, that you're working on a number of other things critical to the town operation?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if it's a handful, a dozen questions, probably not a big deal. If we get 100 questions, then obviously that's a little bit more, time consuming
If we
to.
get 100 questions, that would mean we screwed up this document really bad.
You would hope,
Yeah.
You'd hope it'd be a
Good
handful
point.
of people are just asking for some clarification. So if it's just a clarification on what exactly we're looking for, timing of things, I don't think that would be too awful long. And I think between the 22nd and the 5th, we have almost 2 weeks in there. So hopefully that should give us enough time on that. And then that gives them 2 weeks to take our responses back and then finalize their proposals, get it in by the 20th. And then that was the 16th, as we were just looking, that was kind of a long gap between us receiving the proposals and this committee coming back together. Obviously, we'd get the proposals in, share with this group, and then did we want to meet a little sooner to turn that back around and
We can certainly look
keep this moving?
to do that. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
All right, great. What I'll call page 2 and 3, which are the table of contents. Any questions, concerns, anything jump up on either one of those? All right, that kind of pushes us right into our intro with our purpose and background and what have you. Would just ask any questions on that first section, the intro. All right, on item 2, which is our statement of qualifications, and just note on page 6, I think there are a couple of items there for us to at least look at, and a note by Sarah that these two items together can be linked.
So specifically, that note remained on there after our last meeting.
Okay.
So that the committee would be reminded of this is what we were looking to add, and they could look at it and see, we've done that.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, thank you. Questions on that? Okay, moving along, let's take a look at section 3, which is scope of services.
And this was also the part, I know you guys were adding in some additional education pieces, as you itemized here, to meet the wants of the committee last time. So that was part of the conversation, was adding in a little bit more of, how do you, handle your education plan and notification part of it. So you guys, I know you and Phyllis were working on
Yeah.
that and updating that since the last meeting.
So this, we had to both update scopes of services as well as add an education plan section. And as we'll go down, you'll see the education section.
Okay. All right. Okay, from scope of services, that first page was duties. We get into the procurement strategies, followed by program roles, program budget. Anything on those sections that jump out by way of any questions, concerns? All right, if we jump over to 10, we have the timeline, ongoing services, representation, and other requirements.
At the top of page 10, I think you're missing a number. I think impact, this is at the very top.
I think
Is that a carryover?
that's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Is that an inclusion of number 4?
Payment schedule for proposed fees and costs, money schedule, dependencies, impact. I think that should be
That should
part of
number
4.
four?
I
Okay.
don't,
Four
Yeah.
in a period, so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
odd.
I think it's
Just
the
a
page
formatting.
break on there versus, because on,
say that again? Sorry.
when I'm looking at the document, it's just the continuation of 4.
Okay.
And that
Okay.
might have been changed by changing spacing.
Spacing,
Like,
yeah.
since I just did that on the first page.
You have an extra space if you go one page up between 9 and 10, and if you remove that, maybe it'll wrap together.
Oh, hey.
See what happens.
Yep.
There.
Thanks. Thanks for that.
All right, great.
Got your
Only an
back.
attorney would grab that level of detail. Thanks,
Just
Matt.
hanging out
appreciate
there, that's all.
that.
What's that tied to?
All right, so just continuing on with that section, anything else jump out overall? Okay, then we get into section 4, which is proposal information. And under that, we've got a number of items. Which obviously are very, very detailed questions, and especially around the educational component. Proposal submission and format. Right, that kind of brings us down to page 16, and general information that talks about communications orally, changes to RFP, joint offers, exceptions, pre-contractual expenses, town's rights and options,
So,
et cetera.
to be a lawyer again, it's
Mhm.
labeled as F. I think it should be Roman numeral 5.
For towns' rights and options?
No,
General information.
Oh. I'm gonna have to fix that.
Oh, there. And then the letters change too, right? They become big
Do we
A's.
want to try to fix the indexing at all, like on mine I have navigation on the side? Is that worth trying to do for somebody? I mean, I don't know. You know, if you look at the side, it goes 5, C, F, B, C, D, E.
Do you mean when you pull
If
out?
somebody opens it with the indexing, the navigation pane, I just didn't know
So-
whether.
What we've been doing for like the final draft is it's a PDF.
Okay, perfect,
So
okay.
that shouldn't affect it. Obviously, in this committee, everyone I'm sending to is getting the Word document so that they can see the markups. But yeah, that, I definitely understand that concern.
Sarah, something happened there to your oral communication now is B instead of A.
Yeah, that's why I just highlighted both.
Okay.
For it, because when I put in the V, it changed it to B.
Got it.
And that's gonna take more time than I want to put you guys through right now.
Got it.
Sorry. But thank you for noticing.
Yeah,
Thanks, Sarah.
group
All right.
document formatting.
Okay. So I guess there is a question, I look at page 19, and there is a question under term of contract, and I think that warrants a bit of review or discussion by this committee as to what we might like to see, preference, any insight or expertise anyone might have. When I say that, I tend to look to my right and look at my friend, Mr. Knauer, who tends to be involved with a lot of this stuff in the field. And I guess the question that comes up is the town awarding the agreement for 2 years. And I guess the question might be to everybody, but also especially Bob, any thoughts about anything longer than that? And maybe our resident attorney that wears a different hat here, but he never loses that attorney hat. Any thoughts?
My thought with the 2-year term is that
Matt,
it's good for the town.
if you're pressing that, you're muting it, so I'm just making sure you're aware.
The red button confuses me.
It's always on, so if you're pressing it,
Gotcha.
you're muting it, just for the audio.
So the 2 years give, any more than 2 years, it's got an option to extend it at the town's sole discretion, so that obviates any issues as far as a longer term. So this gives the town the ability to get out after 2 years if it's not successful, they don't like it. And then the option, if they do like it, to at its sole discretion, to extend it.
Continue on.
Yeah, I think the 2 years is fair too. It's, every year would be, I think, a lot more work and
For both parties.
for both parties, and I guess, if I had it's really hard to say in the energy market what's going to happen 2 years down the road, so I think it's probably the best option.
Okay.
That seems to make sense to me.
I think the discussion came up because 2 years seems, it's almost like that's a challenge to get in and get going and get established, and just about when you've got your feet on the ground, then you're reevaluated.
And
know,
renegotiating.
And renegotiating.
Which is probably a good thing, but
Right.
benchmarking other communities, that seems to be standard
Okay.
2 year. And yeah, the renewal starts, you're just getting going and you're already starting to do the renewal process.
Now, under a renewal, do you see that being longer? Would you do like a 3-year renewal if the first 2 years goes well, and then you could re-up for a longer period of time, or is it still 2 years pretty consistent?
I don't know, it's almost like buying futures, it's, I don't know. I think, see how it goes with 2. And for the renewal, unless things drastically change in the detailed terms, it really just boils down to what's the new contracted rates. Unless something else changes, but that's what, we're really focusing on. And then maybe improving any of the communication process or anything like that. The 2 years is kind of the, see how it goes and then make improvements for the next contract.
I will say that I find the last sentence of this paragraph or section contradictory to the beginning. It says that it shall be subject to the town's own discretion, which may be exercised solely by delivering notice of an extension to the selected provider. Then it says any extensions will be made upon a mutual agreement.
Yeah, that's an excellent point,
So we might
Matt.
want to take out that last sentence.
Yeah, I'm thinking that, you know, looking at that now and listening to that discussion, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think, you know, the ball really should be squarely, you know, we're not looking to try to, you know, screw somebody, but on the other side of the coin, this is something we're doing for our residents, and I think taking that last sentence out, I think makes a lot of sense. Everybody comfortable with that? If we were to do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is the town board going to be comfortable with that?
I mean, it gives the town all of the chips.
Right. I would say yes, and you know, my sense, we haven't sent this to Dick Horowitz yet, our town attorney, but just knowing Dick and listening to the comment by Matt, my sense is that he would probably flag that, knowing Dick. So we wanted to go through from a committee standpoint and kind of flush out, you know, things, and then we'll get it to Dick. I would see after tonight's meeting with the town board, then tomorrow morning with, or by the end of the week, we've, you know, updated through this conversation that we push a copy out to Dick. And I can let him know when I meet with him Friday that it'll be coming his way. And then he has got next week, you know, to kind of go through, because we've got the fifth Wednesday of the month, gives a little bit of flexibility, and it doesn't go to town board until the 7th of October, again, provided they're comfortable with the schedule that we laid out, or continue to be comfortable with that. All right. Yeah, good point. Thank you, Matt. Other questions on that particular section? Okay, we start page 20, and we start with our exhibits. So we have Exhibit A. Anything there jump out? We have Exhibit B, which talks about our insurance requirements.
Isn't B references?
I'm sorry?
Isn't B references? And then C insurance? Oh, no, I
The
mixed them
copy
up.
I've got, Sarah,
I'm sorry, you're
is-
correct.
Is requirements.
Yep,
Yep, okay.
sorry.
Yep. All right, so anything there jump out?
Just, I guess the note on B is our town comptroller.
I'm sorry,
Is there a town comptroller? That question?
as far as referring to,
The
Insurance requirements under.
The entity that may modify the insurance requirements? Should that be you?
so, I might, just reading the component on, reading again, the town attorney. So I might suggest that be maybe the town attorney and town controller. So the town controller is kind of our interface go between the insurance company. Barbara, will pull that information together, and then that information will be shared with myself and Dick as supervisor and town attorney, and then as needed brought to the town board. So I'm wondering if we should say town attorney and controller.
Works for me.
And the controller, okay. So anything else on that aspect of B?
There's, in that same paragraph, there's, it shall be further stipulated thereon that the town attorney of the town of Penfield shall be given at least 30 days' notice of cancellation of said coverage, which shall be remitted to the town attorney.
Okay,
I wasn't, so this wording came from someone else's document, and I
Okay.
wasn't positive if that should have the second part of which shall be remitted to the town attorney, since it already, in the previous part of the sentence, says that it's going to the town attorney, to my understanding. And I was just a little confused on that one. And this is it highlighted, if that helps anyone.
I don't know, I guess I'll
I
look.
think it's duplicative.
You think it's what?
I think you can take it out.
Okay.
The second part of it.
Yeah.
Take that second piece up.
And just because I didn't know
It's
if that was a
already
legal
remitted.
thing for it to be in, I didn't want to just take it out without
Yep, no,
having that talk.
thank you for that discussion, Sarah, so, okay. All right, we'll modify that. That brings us up to page 23 and beyond, which we got some notary, and we've got some representation and certifications. And then I guess the anything else on the remaining portion before I ask my next question? Anything else jump out there, team, that raises a concern or a flag? Okay. So I guess then, Mark, my question might be, from a seeker standpoint, anything we need to be sensitive to as we're moving forward with this, and at what point do some of those trigger points possibly enter into the discussion?
Yeah, I'd have to look and see if it falls under possibly a type 2 action, since it's legislative measure, but we can take a look at those, and obviously as part of doing the resolution for the board, we could look at the seeker component of that at the same time as we're doing the resolution and
Okay.
making sure we've typed it
So,
properly.
certainly that, anything that we tend to do with ordinance modifications and some of those things,
Yep.
that's one of the questions Dick always brings to our attention for discussion, review, and what have you. So we'll get that out, be prepared for that. We'll be prepared for that question.
Yep.
So a non-governmental person, what does that mean?
So the State Environmental Quality Review Act, so as we
Oh,
do
okay.
certain things, whether that be project, whether that be, modifications to a current zoning ordinance or local law, new section or local law of the town, we've got to go through a seeker review. Mark is kind of Mark and his team, Sarah and others are kind of our experts in that area. So before I get myself too deep into the weeds, I know enough
Okay.
enough to ask the question.
Okay, I knew that seeker acronym, it just didn't fit
Yeah,
for what you were
yeah.
talking about.
There's kind of
Okay.
different components that falls under the environmental. So we've got, any new building construction, they do an environmental impact assessment on it. That's something that falls before the planning board, the town board. Also under is Tony shared, legislative actions. So the comprehensive plan, that can have global issues, or at least within the town of major impacts. That would be a type 1 action. We'd have to do a draft environmental impact statement, so there's more with that, this being, purchasing of power, entering into a contract. I don't know if it falls in, there's different thresholds for it, but legislative actions fall under that as well. But a comprehensive plan, when you're looking at rezoning of town, obviously can be an environmental impact if you're changing something from farmland to industrial or commercial. So that's something you need to assess, as part of that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Seeker, as we've known to love on many fronts. All right, so with that, I'll just ask, anything else we should discuss? Again, Mark will be bringing this, we do have it as an agenda item tonight to bring back to the town board. Is there any, questions, last minute questions, comments, anything that we'd like to share with the board that we haven't already either discussed or part of this package tonight?
One last formatting thing. Just, I see that it says that it's page 31 of 32 at the end.
It does. I don't know why it does that.
That's, yeah.
I'll
just
I'll
just
sort that out.
to torture you.
I don't know.
Or to
It's okay.
whoever
Be one of
receives
those-
it.
That's incorrect. We should fix that.
Here's the last page.
Why don't we see if if they read the document and ask where page 32 is, we know they got all the way to the end.
It's like when you give directions and you tell them to not do anything as the
Yeah,
last
that's the last.
direction. You have to read through them all. I'll fix that.
Okay, and then I guess one last, now that we've chatted about this here for about the last half hour, any last minute thoughts about timeline? And I'll look more to staff, but I would welcome input from all. We still comfortable taking into account holidays and things like that? Still comfortable with that timeline as proposed on that first page?
I mean, I think that puts us ahead of most of the holidays, at least for accepting proposals. I think further down the agenda, we'll have to have some conversation about, where this group falls in, and then obviously you fall more into the Thanksgiving and then Christmas, and kind of where do we go from there. But I think at least accepting proposals through that, I think, works for us.
And I will say it is the intent of the town board that this committee, be intimately involved, with receiving and then discussing proposals and what have you. Ultimately, it'll be their decision, final decision to accept an administrator or reject all of the proposals. But this board will be the kind of the review board for the town board because we've been intimately involved kind of from the start through. So they'll be looking for our thoughts and recommendations, questions, any concerns and things.
Will there be any concern with that first week of technical questions being sent into us, having one of us not here? I just thought about that.
I mean, I think we can gather them, and then
That's what I was hoping.
we've got the week after. I think we'll just do collection the first week, and then we'll work on our
Start
responses
answering.
and get it out after that.
Sounds great.
Well, and I'm going to go back to our friend Sinette. If we have a boatload of questions, maybe we didn't do as good of a job on the RFP as we could or should have. But I think, based on the work that you've done, feedback you've received, the models you've used for NYSERDA, and as well as Brookhaven, I mean, we've tried to take into account most everything.
I
So.
think we've been as thorough as we can.
Yep, agreed. Okay. All right, we'll keep you posted. It's one of the action items on the agenda for tonight. And we'll get a short note out to everybody to say we're on track, or the board had some questions here, or had asked to make some modifications to the timeline. Whatever that is, we'll make sure that we share that out.
Did the information that you sent out, I want to guess maybe like a week ago, that you were passing on from somebody,
That came.
does that have any impact on what we've prepared, or we had already, I mean, that's what I was like, what is this? That was about getting the, I just lost the term. The source of the electricity,
Community solar.
yes.
Community solar.
So, oh.
Yep, go right ahead.
So we previously talked about including something in the RFP pertaining to community solar. And we agreed at our last meeting, to my understanding, that we wanted the CCA RFP to be directly CCA and not include other additional items, so that we could be focused on this.
So that was just noise coming through.
I think there's
other opportunities.
there's opportunities in that, and we did discuss that at our last meeting too, just as there's opportunities in installing more electric charging units for electric vehicles or similar things that would lead us more into climate smart communities, which we've also discussed. So that's kind of where we came to at our last meeting, which is why that is not included in the
Okay.
RFP currently.
So it had nothing to do necessarily with the proposal we were preparing. It was just
Currently.
more like, hey, this is an update to what's going on.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And then, just before we came in, Bob and I were on a conference call with Astral Power, who they are into community solar. So Bob and I spent a half an hour at their request to just have some general conversations. And we said that we would at least make this committee aware. We told them we were heading into this meeting. We'd make this community aware that we did have some dialogue. And did indicate that, at some point, we may want to, vet this out in a little bit more detail. But I think it is part of the RFP for the administrator. I think as Sarah has indicated, kind of keeping that kind of a separate and distinct, and then what is brought to the table as by way of any proposal could include a host of different things, including community solar. I don't know if you have any other thoughts based on that conversation that we had.
No, again, that's something maybe to look at in the future, but I think we need to follow through and see how the RFP and how the respondents, how that plays out, and see what, the results of that are. The community solar would be a completely different model, where people would just on their own basically opt in. Anybody can do that right now. And it's possible in these RFPs, the administrators, they're going to shop and put together their numbers on a multitude of sources. I don't know, precisely, but it may or may not include some of the power from the community solar. So,
And there are options in this RFP that the potential administrators can mention that they have affiliations with community solar or other green energy products. If they so choose to include that, that would be considered like one of those bonus points that we've talked about before.
Yeah. So, the RFP, we would hope that it would be a competitive exercise with the administrators where they're going to strive to put together the best package for us. So we'll just wait and see how that, plays out.
So did we talk about, if everybody recalls, the village of Pittsford, town of Pittsford, Rondequoit, and Brighton went out for a CC administrator, and they did get their proposals. As I understand it, at a very high level, the numbers came in higher than what the rates are, here today. As I understand it, the towns of Pittsford and Arundecoit have elected to, at this point, back away. I don't know where the village of Pittsford is. And again, I understand, I haven't had a direct conversation with Bill Maley, but from Brighton, but I understand Brighton is willing to move forward, even though the cost may be higher to their residents. It appears as though Brighton may be moving forward. More information to come on that, but that's kind of how that information has settled out. And again, I don't know where the Village of Pittsford elected to go, a yay or nay. So, by way of a little bit of an update. Okay, anything else before we go to our next topic? And I know we've got a couple of members that have a hard 5 o'clock stop, so I want to respect that. If we're good from CCA and the RFP, we'll move on to update of just a couple of events coming up. So next weekend, not this coming weekend, but next weekend, our community bikes drop off. That's going to be on Saturday. That'll be at the community center.
Actually, that's been canceled.
Oh, so I'm
got it
glad.
from the source.
I'm glad our friend Sabrina's here to kind of give us an update, because the last I had heard from what I had thought was a reliable source outside of the town, that was still on. So that
Yeah, I spoke with Dan Lill from our community bikes. They are not accepting bikes right now because they are pretty much up to their eyeballs, and their volunteers are not back yet due to COVID concerns. So unfortunately, yeah.
Okay. So there's two options. Life's about choice. So the first option is hold on to that bike in your garage, barn, cellar, or otherwise, and next year hopefully we have that bike drop. You can get rid of it. The second option is that we have a fall drop-off on Friday and Saturday. Materials will be separated, so if it's a bike, metal bike, it'll go into the metal, and that will be properly recycled if you can't wait for another year.
But remember that upcycling is always better than recycling.
That's right. Thank you, Sina. Thank you. So there is that opportunity for that. So it'll be a combination of metals, drop-off materials. You can also drop off things like white goods, dehumidifiers and refrigerators, tires up to 4 per household, per family. Tires, brush drop-off. You can drop off clothing. Cans and bottles can be dropped off right adjacent to the clothing for one of our scout troops. And then on Saturday only, there is a certified document destruction that will be there. So if you've got all those income tax forms, other sensitive information, you don't want your identity stolen, you can bring that in and run it through the Barracuda. And it just kind of gets chomped to confetti-sized bits. So that option will be available on Saturday. So that takes us to current items of interest and update. And I will just take only a moment on that. I'll ask Mark maybe to comment on the last item. With Shadow Pines, conceptual master plan is complete, and we're starting to work with that. That has kind of laid out a roadmap for what the property could look like over the next 5 to 10 plus years. And Jim Costello and myself are still working with the Clark House. There is still some interest. COVID kind of hit us a little bit, but there is still some interest. The Clark House for right now, restaurant brewery, and so stay tuned for that. Hopefully that will come together. And then Mark, I know that you lost a team member. Zach Nersinger retired, and you've got and you've got a guy that jumped in to take his place, Doug Sangster, who folks probably know, or many probably know, because he was part of Mark's team. He's just moved into a new role. Update on comp plan and next steps.
Yeah, we've had a small delay between COVID and then loss of a team member, but Doug has stepped in. He's picked up the document. Zach moved it along quite a bit before he had left.
Where did he go?
He took a job with a private consulting firm down in Yonkers.
Oh.
So he moved downstate a bit with a private firm, so he's moved on to other opportunities. But we wish him well with that. But Doug has stepped in, and he's picked up where Zach left off. He's working on it, so we're hopeful to get that back to get a draft back to the committee sometime this fall. Work to wrap that up through the end of the year. We would still have to do a DEIS and handle the seeker portion, which will most likely push into the, first quarter of next year. But if we can get a draft comp plan to the town board before the end of the year, is our goal right now.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mark. Couple of projects that we still have in the hopper and working on. We have our sustainability code, which is really part of the comp plan that Sarah has been shepherding through this, so that'll be part of the comp plan rollout, and then the community smart community certification, and we have not really done much since our last get-together. A lot of effort here putting together the 2021 budget with our department heads and trying to figure out how we deal with some of our shortfalls with COVID and revenue impacts and things like that. So that's an opportunity for us here to pick up after about mid-October when the budget gets updated to pick up and continue to move forward with that. Nothing more by way of any plans or discussions for any field trips at this point. As we noted earlier in the agenda, our next meeting is on the 16th. I'd ask that, again, depending upon proposals that we receive, number of proposals, that we may look to try to get together and do some review of those. I would think we'd probably electronically send some of those out. Probably that would be the most expeditious way to do a quick review of that. I know that Mark and Sarah have talked about, having some type of a grading scale that would be put together that we would look at as we're reviewing the proposals, and what areas would get different scores based on submissions and things like that. So we'll stay tuned for that. I'm hoping that we get ideally 3+ different proposals, only because I think competition is good, keeps pencils sharp, and hopefully gets the best product for our residents, considering a program of opting out, not opting in. So I'm going to make sure we give folks our best information possible. So with that, I would just ask committee, any additional questions, comments, information that we should put on the table and discuss? All right. I'd just like to thank all the board members or committee members for your work on the RFP. That was kind of a heavy lift, especially Sarah, who did a lot of the behind-the-scenes work. Sarah, thank you for that, and taking all of our comments and feedback and incorporating those in. And we'll keep you updated with a short note, probably tomorrow morning or so. Between Mark and I, we'll let you know how that worked out with the town board. So, all right. Seeing no further business, we'll call this meeting to an end here. And if not before, we'll look to see you on September 16th. All right? Get you.
December.
What did I say?
September.
So, yeah, I'm still trying to relive part of this year that I've lost.
Oh, why?
So December. So thank you for keeping me on my toes. So, okay, with that, thanks everyone. Get everyone out that has those 5 o'clock or later commitments. And as always, if there's nothing to do tonight, you're sitting around being bored, the work session of the town board starts at 7 p.m. sharp. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of exciting and stimulating discussion at that meeting. So, thank you.